The truth is everybody has challenges in their life, and that's usually what makes them great. And I'm not saying that what he did was good or bad. I'm saying it's an event. Now, how do you use it to your greatest advantage?
You said, let me slam your arm in the door, and I'll give you I'll give you $1 billion. I'll give you a private jet, like every material thing that you've ever wanted in life. I'll give you a mansion. If you let me slam your arm in the door, I'll give it all to you. And I'm like, hey, Dr. Demartini, please slam both my arms, baby. I'm ready. Let's go.
Well, I had a gentleman this last weekend here in Denver when I was teaching the breakthrough experience. He said to me, what about things that happen to you that are very painful and very, traumatic? I said, there are no such things. There are events that if you see the drawbacks to, they become traumatic. If you count up the upsides to them, you can transform them, as Anaxagoras, Greek philosopher.
Follow us, me, Liberty of I'm Worth It Inc., and Dr. Demartini here on YouTube, so we can help you make a bigger impact, influence, and income, because
you're worth it. He basically said that pain and pleasure are simply ratios of perception. So what I did is I told him, I said, if I slammed your thumb on the table with a hammer, probably think that's traumatic and you'd be in pain. But as I did, if I stacked up, I said, I'm going to give you $1 billion cash if I slam it. He looked at me and he smiled, and I'll give you that mansion. I'll give you the things that you want that you associate with pleasure. Not that they will give you pleasure, because they'll give you new sets of things. But if he associates that, and I stack up enough benefits to it, he'll say slam away. Because he'll say that the advantages now, the benefits are now more than the drawbacks. So instead of it being traumatic, it'll be ecstatic. So it's the ratios of our perceptions, and we have control over the ratios of perceptions. That's why the quality of our life is based on the quality of the questions we ask. If we ask questions, what's the upside to this event? Instead of just dwelling on the downside and being victim of history, if we ask what's the upside, we can become master of destiny. Right. So it's about asking quality questions to liberate ourselves from the misperception that the world around us dictates how we are and feel, instead of our perception, decisions, and actions and what we can do.
That's right. I love how you said that, because I think it was Evan Carmichael. He said, the wound is the way. And it's like, I know that everything that has happened or will happen to me in my life is not really happening to me. It's happening for me, because, like, for example, my childhood, I went through all these experiences. People are always dwelling on the past, but I'm not dwelling on it. I was raped as a child by my dad. I was physically abused. I've been through abusive relationship with men and all these things. But all of these things, I say it's like my resume. These are my things I can use to help other people.
Well, I had a lady this last weekend who was, I'm guessing, probably late 30s. She had a grandfather that used to interact with her when she was a child. And she was really playing a wounded woman, really angry and really hurt, really traumatized by it, running her story and going to therapy over this. And I asked her, I said, did you ever ask what were the advantages and benefits that came out of it? And she said, well, no. I said, well, let's look. And I said, what's the advantages in your life? And she said, I started studying martial arts. I said, did you do well in martial arts? She says, I was a champion. I was amazing at it. I said, do you see a direct correlation from your grandfather in martial arts? She says, I do. I said, did you ever thank him for that? Because she goes, no. I said, what's another benefit? As a result of your martial arts, where else did you excel? He said, well, I joined the military and I became very high in military positioning. And I used my martial arts and I was an incredible trainer and I got a lot of awards for that and acknowledgments for that. And then he gave me the discipline that I needed in my life. And I said, do you think that's correlated and some sort of correlation or causal relationship to your grandfather? She says, I do. I said, did you give him thanks for that, or did you let him know about the accomplishments you got? She said, no. And I said, and did that help you become more independent? And she said, definitely. He says, I don't depend on anybody, and I definitely didn't want to be dependent on a guy, and so I have my own company, and I'm an entrepreneur today. And I said, and you've done well financially? She says, yeah. I said, did you think that has anything to do with your grandfather? She said, yes. I said, did you give him a percentage of all the income that you've made for his training?
That was on the movie, right? Yeah.
She started she started laughing, and I said, and do you have any relationship in your life? And she said, I do, a special man. And I said, is he the opposite behavior of what your grandfather was? She started crying. And she said, I knew he was the man that I wanted to be with by the way he interacted with me. I said, so that means the training that your grandfather gave you somehow led you discerning the man in your life? And she said, really did. And then we just started asking these questions, and I went around, how did it help her spiritually? Because when she had that experience, she dissociated and connected with her dissociated state, kind of a relationship that she perceived to be fine. And so she had this connection, and she used that as a connection, a survival connection. And so I said, well, has that been a value? She said, that's been a guide in my life. I said, well, did you thank him for that? And she goes, I never thanked him for almost anything. And I said, and then at that time, did you have a father? And she said, no, my father was gone. I said, did he play part of the father's role in some respects, even though he did things you didn't like? Did he do things you did like? And she started crying. She said, the reason why I endured it is because I didn't want to lose my father. He represented part of the father figure. I said, so he gave you a father figure. He provided partly for the family. He was there and he did this, and he did the things that were actually part of the way. So instead of being a victim of history, you could be a master of destiny. And anything you can't say thank you for is baggage. Anything you can't say thank you for becomes fuel. And so it's for you and not to you, as you said. And when she was done, she looked like she'd lost about 5 years worth of moping in her head and in her facial expressions. Now her wound that she'd been carrying all those years is lifted. And I'm not saying that what he did was good or bad. I'm saying it's an event. Now, how do you use it to your greatest advantage? In our society, we like to label things. We label things good and evil, and we have moral hypocrisies. We don't understand repressions and expressions in society. And so we have these ideals and these fantasies about how life's supposed to be. But the truth is, everybody has challenges in their life, and that's usually what makes them great.
Dr. John Demartini is the king of conquering challenges. From being born deformed, unable to walk, speak, read, or write, Doctor is now a healer, polymath, world-renowned speaker, best-selling author, and has an award-winning documentary film made about his life and his Demartini method and the breakthrough experience. Since I found Dr. Demartini and I've done his values determination test, he has helped me get back to my true self. And since I'm just focusing on my values and doing only what's my highest priority so I can serve you better, my YouTube watch time has increased by 200%. You are worth it. Go take the values determination test and watch all of my episodes with Dr. Demartini and Evan Carmichael in the playlist Minute with a Millionaire. It's right here. Click the screen or the description. Follow us, me, Liberty of I'm Worth It Inc., and Dr. Demartini here on YouTube, so we can help you make a bigger impact, influence, and income, because
you're worth it.
And the world is waiting on you.
The truth is, everybody has challenges in their life, and that's usually what makes them great.